Greetings, Middletown High School scholars. This is Dr. Williams, your executive principal, and it is my pleasure and honor to greet you today. I'd like to review some expectations for our school. However, I'd like to start by saying that we are at the end of the year almost, and it is the home stretch. Let's finish out strong. I am proud of all of the wonderful things and accomplishments that our scholars have achieved thus far. In order to finish the year strong, there are some key components that we need to make sure that we are on the same page about, as they will be enforced throughout the school year. Number one is student ID. It is critical that every student has their identification cards when entering the building and also entering lunch. We must be accountable for every single person that enters our school buildings. With that, every scholar will be asked to swipe in the mornings with their identification cards. You may have noted from the letter that was sent out by Mrs. Creedon and myself that the expectation will be that every scholar has an ID card. The first time that a scholar does not have an ID card, there will be the opportunity to get one made. After that, there will be disciplinary consequences in place. It is critical that every student has an identification card each and every day to swipe into the building. Secondly, the idea of hats and hoods. We are asking every scholar that enters our building to please remove hats and hoods. It is imperative that in the case of an emergency, we are able to identify every person in this building via camera and/or otherwise. We are also asking that no scholars wear ski masks. Ski masks are not allowed. You may wear protective coverings over your nose and mouth, such as regular surgical masks. However, ski masks that cover the entire face and/or otherwise are not allowed. If you are asked by an adult to remove your hat or your hood, we are asking you to please comply. If we have to engage in conversations that are unnecessary and/or rude or disrespectful in nature, there will be disciplinary consequences involved. And I will review all of the consequences to everything that we are covering here today. The third item is class attendance. In order for us to achieve our optimal best and to ensure that we are creating a nurturing and affirming school environment for all of our scholars, it is critical that every scholar is where they are supposed to be at every second of the day. That means inside of our classrooms before the late bell rings. That means being inside the lunchroom during lunch times. That also means being inside study halls when study halls are assigned. Lastly, if scholars have early dismissal, it means exiting the building as soon as the scholar's last period is over. We are asking that every scholar remain in the classrooms during the time that classes are in session, and we will be addressing scholars that are not in classrooms and are roaming the building. It is imperative that you are in classes so that you can achieve the education that we are here to support you with. In the event that there is any type of altercation and recordings happen and are disseminated, any scholar who records any infractions to our school rules and expectations will experience disciplinary consequences as well. The last item on the agenda is parking. Our parking is limited, and we expect that scholars that drive to school have already been vetted, which means that you've gone to your house and you've gotten a parking pass. Parking for our scholars is a privilege. It is not a right. And being that we have limited parking, it is crucial that you have the appropriate authorized parking pass. If any of these expectations are not followed, the first one For student ID will be a reminder. Second infraction will be a day of out-of-school suspension. With regards to hats and hoods, if you're asked to remove them, that's fine as long as you do it the first time. However, if we need to engage in a conversation that feels combative or rude or disrespectful, that will result in a day of out-of-school suspension. With regard to class attendance, if you are caught in a hall sweep and or are not attending class, an administrator asks you to go to class the first time, it will be a reminder with a period detention. All following infractions will result in an out-of-school suspension. If there are any recording of fights, the first offense will be an out-of-school suspension. We will also request a meeting with your parents and or guardians. Parking, the first offense is a warning. Second offense is an out-of-school suspension. That means that if you're parking without having the authorization to do so. We want and will expect nothing less than a positive, cohesive, nurturing, and affirming learning environment. We thank each of you for what you do every day. Scholars, you are the beacon of hope and light in our community, and our high school must set the example. In a previous conversation, we talked about branding and we talked about high leverage learning. We must do this together. We believe in you, we value you, we appreciate you, and we all need to do all that we can do to stay within a realm of expectations so that we achieve the optimal success. Thank you for helping us with this wonderful, safe, and encouraging learning environment. We want to celebrate you in every way possible. Let's finish strong. Thank you, Team MHS. This is Dr. Williams, your executive principal, and have a wonderful remainder of our school year.